I still remember the way the candles flickered that night, soft, golden light dancing across a room filled with people who thought they knew me. It was my birthday, 60 years old, a milestone, they said, a celebration of love, family, and everything I had built over 3 decades of marriage. I stood in the center of the living room, smiling as guests laughed, glasses clinked, and music hummed gently in the background. My husband, Daniel, had insisted on throwing a big party this year. "You deserve it," he'd said, with that same charming smile I had trusted for 30 years. And I believed him. For 30 years, I believed everything he said. I believed he worked late because he was building a future for us. I believed the weekends he spent traveling for business were necessary sacrifices. I believed that the distance that had slowly crept into our marriage was just life, just time, just age. I believed him because I loved him. That night, as I looked around at the friends and relatives gathered in our home, I thought I knew my life. I thought I knew my husband. I was wrong. "Everyone," Daniel suddenly said, tapping his glass with a spoon. The room slowly quieted, all eyes turning toward him. He stepped forward, confident, proud, almost excited. "I want to say something special tonight," he continued, smiling in my direction. "This isn't just about celebrating my wife's birthday, it's about truth. It's about finally being honest after all these years." A strange feeling settled in my chest. Honest? I kept smiling, but something inside me shifted. Daniel gestured toward the front door. "Come in." The door opened, and my world changed. A woman walked in first, elegant, composed, maybe in her late 50s. Behind her were 3 young adults, 2 men and a woman, all in their 20s. They looked familiar in a way that made my stomach tighten. The room went silent. "This," Daniel said, his voice steady, "this is my family." For a moment, no one moved, no one spoke. I felt the air leave my lungs, but my smile didn't break. I stood there, frozen in place, as the meaning of his words slowly sank in. "My children," he added, placing a hand on the shoulder of the young man beside him. "The ones I couldn't tell you about, until now." A soft gasp rippled through the crowd. I could hear my own heartbeat, loud and steady, like it didn't belong to me anymore. 30 years, and he had another family, right in front of me, right inside my home. "It's a shock, I know," Daniel continued, his tone shifting slightly, as if he were explaining something reasonable. "But I couldn't keep living a lie. They deserve to be acknowledged. They deserve to be part of my life, openly." Part of his life, as if they hadn't already been. I looked at the woman standing beside him. She didn't look ashamed. She didn't look nervous. She looked calm, almost like she had been waiting for this moment. And suddenly, everything made sense. The late nights, the business trips, the distance. It wasn't work. It was them. A younger version of me might have screamed, might have cried, might have collapsed under the weight of betrayal. But not me. Not anymore. Because Daniel didn't know something I had discovered months ago, something I had prepared for, quietly, patiently, while he thought he was the one in control. I took a slow breath, letting the silence stretch just long enough for discomfort to settle into the room. Then I smiled. "Of course," I said, softly, my voice steady. "You should have told me sooner." Daniel blinked, clearly not expecting that reaction. The guests shifted awkwardly. The tension in the room thickened. I stepped forward, my heels clicking softly against the floor, and walked toward the table near the cake. "I actually have something for you, too," I added. From underneath the table, I picked up a small, elegant box. It was simple, neat, almost insignificant, but it wasn't. I turned and walked back toward him, holding it out. "For you," I said. Daniel hesitated, confusion flickering across his face. Slowly, he took the box from my hands. "What's this?" he asked. "Go ahead," I replied calmly. "Open it." The room was completely silent now, every eye fixed on him. He lifted the lid, and everything changed. Inside the box were documents, official, stamped, organized. At first, he didn't understand. Then his expression shifted. Confusion turned into realization. Realization turned into panic. "What is this?" he whispered. "Thank statements," I said simply. His hands trembled slightly as he flipped through the pages. Statements showing accounts, transfers, balances. Or rather, the lack of them. "You see," I continued, my voice calm but firm, "a few months ago I noticed something strange. Money was disappearing, large amounts, quietly, regularly." I glanced briefly at the woman beside him, so I started looking. Daniel's face had gone pale. I hired an accountant and a lawyer. I traced every account, every transaction, every secret you thought you were hiding. The guests murmured softly. "And what I found," I said, leaning slightly closer, "is that for years you've been funding another life, another home, another family." I paused, letting the weight of my words settle. "But what you didn't know," I added, "is that I moved faster than you." Daniel shook his head. No, you can't." "I already did," I cut in gently. I gestured toward the papers in his hands. "Those accounts? Frozen. Legally. Every transfer you were making, documented, investigated." His breathing grew heavier. "The shares?" I continued. "Transferred. The properties? Secured. The joint accounts? Closed." The room felt electric. "You spent 30 years building a double life. I only needed 3 months to take it all back." The woman beside him stepped forward. "This is insane." "No," I replied, turning to her. "What's insane is thinking you could live off my life and I wouldn't notice." Silence. Heavy. Final. Daniel looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. You planned this," he whispered. I smiled slightly. "No," I said, "you did." I stepped back, creating distance between us. "You made your choices," I continued. "I just responded to them." The guests stood frozen, unsure what to do, what to say. "But don't worry," I added softly. From my purse, I pulled out one final envelope. "Divorce papers," I said, placing them gently on the table beside him. "For 30 years, I trusted you. And for 30 years, you chose to lie." I looked around the room. The guests, the strangers he had brought into my home, the life I thought I had. "Tonight," I said, "you wanted the truth." I met his eyes one last time. "Now you have it." I turned, walked calmly toward the door, and didn't look back. Because for the first time in 30 years, I was finally free.